Yeah. Wait, should we record this? Because I saw this on my feed and I was going to leave a comment and I saw your comment on it. And then I
Yeah.
didn't even end up leaving my comment.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay.
Okay. When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing towards those big vision board business goals.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast for online business owners. There were so many good ones, we always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeline Daigan. And this is
hashtag
managed. I think it's perfect.
I like it. I like it. Sammy, welcome to the Hashtag Manage podcast. Can you tell us a little bit more about you and your journey with influencer marketing?
I am Sammy. First of all, thank you guys so much for having me on. I'm super excited to talk to you. It's funny, I was listening to your previous podcast. I saw you had someone named Sam on right before me, and we had a lot of similar answers to questions. And I'm like, oh, cool. Yeah, a little bit about me. I currently am in the northern Chicago suburbs. I'm like right between Milwaukee and Chicago. So it's a super fun place to be. I have two daughters, a husband. He is my college sweetheart. And I always say a dog and a cat because I used to work at a pet food company, but I guess that's not as relevant anymore. I've been in marketing for about 8 years. I started in PR advertising when they used to do social media and what back then was like bloggers, now, influencers today. And eventually went into event planning, then kind of a generalist marketer, which eventually just spanned more into digital. And my last role was in pet food doing social media strategy and influencer partnership management. So it's kind of how I landed here. But looking back on my marketing path experience journey, there's always been influencer marketing in there. I just didn't know what it was yet.
And fun fact, you guys, so Sammy and I went to college together. So go Blurs. We went to Loyola. And looking back, I truly believe it's funny that you say that it's always been there. And I truly believe it was. I feel like I considered you an influencer in college, but
Oh my
again,
God.
no, but seriously, you were the
Yeah.
go-to for makeup and just, yeah. So anyways, there's your little fun fact for this episode. But we wanted to ask you a few fun, quick, rapid fire questions just as a little icebreaker. So,
Yeah.
starting off, what is your favorite thing about being a marketer?
Oh, and like I said, the girl before me that did this had the same answer as me, but very similar to her. I think never boring. I've never, no matter what role I've been in, or even when I did freelance, I never had a day where there wasn't something fun to do. And I think that's something very fun about the industry itself and how evolving it is. It's also kind of like sexy to be in social media
Mhm.
influencer marketing. It's what's cool, it's what's hip. I remember in one of my old roles, I had to go to a elementary or middle school and do like a this is what a marketer does, and I just did it around all of social media, and the kids thought I was the coolest person ever. So when I think about any times I've had a rough go and oh, I should have done this instead, or whatever career path, I just think about how cool it is to work in social and influencer.
Yeah. Okay, and on that note, what celebrity would you like to meet? Or I guess we could say even influencer, celebrity.
It's as easy for me. It's Harry Styles. I would I would do anything to meet that man. I swear to God. Yeah, it would be him. I had to think about it, and I was like, I feel like this should be easy for me. It definitely has to be some type of boy bander. Like Maddie, I
Yeah, yeah.
since first grade when I had an obsession with the Backstreet Boys, it's just followed me my whole life.
Mhm.
So yeah, Harry Styles for sure.
Okay, and what can't you live without?
Is this like a person or a thing? This is hard.
Mhm.
Um, if I can't live without my family. That sounds really like, cliche, but my daughters are really my everything. But if I had to think of a thing, it would probably be my phone, my iPhone. Um, and that's so sad to think about, but it's what we do and it's, where we gravitate. So, yeah, my phone, unfortunately.
And then an alternate universe job, what would that be?
So I actually started at Loyola. I was going to be studying education. I wanted to be a English professor. So random looking back on it. But honestly, I would just be a rich housewife if I could really choose my job. Like, why not? That would not have to work. Are you kidding me? And, but that being said, I can't not work. I have to be doing something at all times. But yeah, probably English professor or like a rich housewife. No joke.
I can see both. I honestly
Yeah.
can see both. I we'll manifest it. We'll
Yeah.
manifest it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then lastly, your favorite brand. Ooh, I'm really
This
curious about this one.
Yeah, this is always changing. It used to be Poppy before. I know I think you guys talked about it too on your podcast. I still do like them as a brand. But thinking about what works on me in terms of like social media marketing specifically, I love Scrub Daddy. I think they are the funniest brand, and Scrub Daddy, if you're listening to this, I would be so good at their social media. Unfiltered sounds like the best job ever, and I feel like Wendy's really paved the way for brands to do that, and Scrub Daddy just kind of owns who they are, and they take it a step further than you think they would, and I think it's brilliant, and I will be a loyalist to that brand till the day I die, because there's one thing to put your brand out there like that and really do it, but it's another thing to actually have a good product, and they're able to do both, so I think that's really really fun, and I love following them. They're so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. Such good questions. Now I feel like we can really dive into like the nitty-gritty of this episode and why we really wanted to invite you on here, Sammy.
Yeah.
Can you share a bit about your journey into influencer marketing and also to more specifically what drew you to this field?
Yeah. So, like I said earlier, I feel like I was kind of in it before it was a thing. Maddie, it's funny you bring up me in college because I did have a blog in
Mhm, I
college.
remember, I remember. Yep, I
And
remember.
I am someone that has kind of done everything to kind of see what I really like, because I'm not a what if person. I really want to know if there's something for me and I'm going to try it. And if it ends up not working out, I'll take a step back. But I had a blog in college and it actually did really well. I think at one point I had like 10,000 readers a month. And at the time, I didn't really have time for it. So it was just a fun project. But I used to get brands that would send me stuff like back when it was only gifting and you didn't really get paid. But I remember I had partnered with like the Happy Planner, which is still like a big brand, and they sent me like $300 worth of product, or I got like a coffee machine or like bath products, and I rarely even posted about them. But I really started in influencer marketing on the other side of things. And then in college, I always had one or two internships a year in a PR agency where, PR was really the backbone of both social, where there wasn't strategy back then. It was literally just posting fun things, and influencer and gifting. So after that, like I said, I went into more events, and then eventually I worked as a director of marketing at a big chamber of commerce in Chicago. And there, I that where we were located in Wrigleyville was very much so a tourist destination. And, this is when a lot of people were starting to be on TikTok and Instagram showing places they were eating or going. And so that's where we started kind of a local ambassador program to bring people to that area. We even started like a supper club that's still running today, like 5 years later. Um, and then kind of over time, when I did freelance after that, I had realized influencer marketing is kind of paving the way of content creation and social media strategy in general. And I realized it's something I really, really loved because it had always kind of been a part of my journey. Um, and like I said, eventually I went on to do it for pet, which is very interesting and very different than your normal, like, I had always watched beauty influencers. I really, really love my pets, don't get me wrong, but that world is so different from your typical, like, some of the partners I had, I didn't even know their names. I only knew their pets' names, right? And so that was always interesting, but it really is very much like social, a very dynamic, ever-changing industry, and influencers are really paving the way for social today. I think I read a post or an article recently from Unilever that they're spending 50% of their marketing budget this upcoming year on influencer marketing and social marketing, which is, crazy for people outside of our roles. But as people that work in this industry, you see that, it's a big deal. And this is where all the eyeballs are. So I really, really genuinely, I know you see job postings where people are like, you have to have a passion for social media. And I really do. I love
Mhm.
it. So, yeah, and right now I'm looking for a full-time role. I am doing some contract work. I'm at that point in my life where I have kids and I don't have the energy like I used to, or um the stamina to like work outside a 9 to 5. So uh
Mm.
as much as
Mhm.
I love the flexibility of like freelance and things like that, I desperately want some stability in my life because it's very hard to have that with a toddler and a baby.
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay, so how did you approach building authentic relationships with influencers? And do you have any tips for those wanting to do the same?
Yeah, great question. I think it's always hard coming from the brand side of things because when you work for a brand in influencer marketing, you are the face of that brand. But at the same time, I'm a person and I want to come across to my partners as this is a partnership. It's not just a business transaction. So when I, would work on the brand side of things, I would genuinely get to know my partners on that personal level, asking how they're doing, asking about their kids in, the pet industry, obviously their pets, and making sure that I make them from the brand side of things feel as comfortable as possible so that they are able to build and create really authentic content for their own audience. I think a lot of brands look at it as that transaction, but these are people. They have their own lives, and you are a job to them, and they want to do it well, and they will do it, great as long as they feel really comfortable. Same goes for when you have a manager. You'll do your job really good if you have a manager that, uplifts you and helps you feel comfortable. Um, so that's kind of the approach I'd always taken with it, and building those relationships where you actually genuinely care about the partner helps you when you go to a different job, or maybe
Mm.
you have a project that that person might not be a fit for, but you have one in the future that they would be, and the fact that you still have that relationship outside of that contract is really, really important. And same goes for like talent managers and social marketers, agencies. I think building relationships in marketing in general is really great because you can bring those people with you wherever you go.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that like even beyond influencer into marketers because I always feel like so many people ask like as a freelancer or now I guess I associate myself more as like an agency owner.
Hmm.
They're like, what do you equate to like your success? And it's like if I could give you like a framework or like a book, Like if I could write that in my, bestseller book, then I would. But one of the pieces of that puzzle is relationship building. Like
Mhm.
especially like in the online world, it's so big. There's so many
Right.
people using social media. Yes, maybe there's even a lot of influencers that are in a particular niche or industry, but it's also so small. So like you
Right.
never want to like really burn a bridge or, not nurture that relationship to the best of your ability. So I think it's
100%.
really, really important. What would you say are the key elements of a successful influencer marketing campaign?
Yeah, I'd say the first thing is knowing what your goal is very important. Because influencer marketing, you kind of have your three buckets. You have, is this partner helping you draw brand awareness? Is it a conversion based campaign or is it an engagement based campaign? And especially when you might have leadership that's specifically looking for something, you need to know that from the get-go, because that will trickle down to what type of partner are you looking at. If you want engagement, look at that engagement rate, not necessarily always their following.
Mhm.
And also looking at how authentic they are with their audience is really important. And making sure you have really, really good tracking. I think something that is really hard in influencer marketing specifically is that attribution model. So, especially if you have no way to track your campaign, whether that's an affiliate link, a pixel, which is really, really important, especially, with as much content that's out there today. Almost, I am going to say this. I feel like 9 out of 10 times someone buys something because they saw an influencer with it, whether they knew it or not. So, for example, you could see an influencer video of this brand product, and you were on it for 6 seconds, however the new metric is, and you're on it, and all of a sudden you're starting to see that brand's paid social ads in your feed, whatever it may be, and you click on that paid social ad eventually, and you go and you purchase a product. The influencer is not getting that attribution. Your paid social is. So having the ability to measure an influencer campaign is super, super important, because when you are able to show that to eventual leadership, if their goal is conversion or, link clicks, whatever it may be, you have the actual evidence that influencer marketing works. Um, and that's why you see a lot of jobs today that expect social managers to also do influencer marketing, and they are very, very different things. Yes, they play with each other and they need to have great strategies together. But they really, really need someone that is able to understand the actual landscape of the influencer relationship and being able to get that content out in being able to reach the audience you want to reach to get the goals that you want to get. Um, I know that was a long-winded answer, but the life cycle of
Mhm.
an influencer content is so long that attribution, for me at least, has always been the biggest thing, because you want to be attributed for your hard work, and making sure you're able to track that is very, very important.
Yeah, I love that you brought up attribution because I'm such a
Mhm.
marketing nerd, like,
Me
as I
too.
know that you do. So, like, we're geeking out over this right now. Perfect. Name a better trio, to geek out over it. But it's one of those things where I feel like influencer marketing and even organic social, the attribution is the biggest thing because, like you said, Sammy, like maybe they saw that influencer post or reel or whatever that piece of content was first, and then they're being targeted by the brand, and we
Mhm.
all know it takes like multiple touch points for someone to actually make a purchase depending on like kind of where they fall like within that buyer journey. But it's very tricky because I think a lot of times, especially a lot of people in our audience, they're social media marketers, most likely for small businesses. I mean, it definitely ranged. We have like corporate gals and kind of everyone in between, but everyone's looking for ROI, and like how
Mhm.
can they just in their eyes justify the cost of an influencer campaign or even organic social or just even their marketing budget as a whole, and they're looking at it at the numbers. And, I think that's where, we love our paid social girls and we love our email marketers and, our media buyers. We love all of them equally, but it's so much easier for them to be able to track, like, look how good
Mhm.
this did. We spent this was our, cost per acquisition. This really landed the most sales and this was more
Mhm.
successful. But you're like, but wait a minute, like, what about everything else that happened prior to that point? And that's where I feel like social media is always evolving. And
Mhm.
but is it evolving for the marketers, the social media marketers? I don't think so, because we would have much better tracking across the board to know, like, no, hey, we posted this. And but again, that's where it could get really, like, on a deeper level, in
Right.
terms of, our organic marketing strategy or even influencer campaign, however many times they're seeing that. Like, okay, how many times did they turn their phone off and they told
Mhm.
their partner about this brand?
Mhm.
Exactly, yeah.
I want to, they're like, I want to buy this brand, or I want to buy this product or this service, or they're going off and they're doing their own research, or they're talking to someone else and that person's like, oh, hey, my favorite influencer just posted about it last week or something, so it all
Right.
really, like, adds up to one another. So anyway, sorry, now I'm giving long-winded.
No,
You're
something
fine.
something else that I liked that you said, and I think it's the perfect segue into our next question, but you said how, you know, influencer marketers in like the social media, I'm butchering how you said it, but again, where it's like two separate jobs. But again, with the social media world, so many companies still think that they're one and the same. So,
Mhm.
what are some common misconceptions about influencer marketing that you'd like to debunk here right now? We're giving you the mic. Like, please have this is your soapbox. Let's go.
There's so many. I think this is honestly just starting at a marketing base level that it's easy. Like, I know I
Mm-hmm.
said earlier, it's like the sexy thing, like being in social media and influencer marketing, but it's not easy. Everything we do is dependent on what other people think of it,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
Yep.
I could create what I think is the best influencer piece of content ever. But if no one is reacting to it, I didn't do my job as well as I thought, right? So there's not many other jobs out there where everyone else is judging you. People can see the work we do every day. My husband's a data engineer. He's coding all day. Like, that's the dream, right? But we are constantly being judged on our work, whether it's, where a CEO is like, "Hey, I didn't like that post. I think this would be better," kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the same, and same for influencer. But I think I read an article recently that I don't remember. It was a big publication that said influencer marketing is out. And because influencer marketing is becoming so big that people are now starting to be able to spot if someone is trying to sell them something, because influencer marketing is obviously a skill and it is a job now. People, tons and thousands of people have influencer marketing as their job. They are an influencer. So I think there's a lot of um, misconceptions that it's not going to work anymore because it's so oversaturated. And I think the reason why it works is because I know you're selling me something, but I trust you because I follow you as someone that I know is authentic. You don't partner with brands that you don't actually believe in. So I am much more likely to purchase from you. And I think honestly too, until we start to trust brands more than we trust people, influencer marketing is never going to die, right? I would much more likely buy something from an influencer I follow because of the content that they put out about their opinion of the brand than the brand itself. And that's why so many brands themselves spend so much money on UGC and don't even create their own in-house content anymore. It's because what drives sales is other people talking about their product, not necessarily them selling their product to you. Um, I'd say those are, and then the one that I think people are finally starting to realize is more followers doesn't buy you more sales. I have worked with partners that have millions of followers, and I have worked with partners that have 10,000, 5,000 followers. And it really is up to that community of that influencer on, do they trust that person to speak authentically about this product or service, whatever it may be. And usually, more than not, I get way better leads and sales, whatever it may be, engagement from that person than someone with X amount of followers that pushes brands all the time and is way more expensive. I can get way more bang for my buck when I have, you know, 10 micro influencers that
Mhm.
cost the same as one macro. So I could go on this. I could talk about it all day.
That's why I knew you had thoughts and opinions. So
Yeah.
Being a social media manager can feel like folding a fitted sheet while you're trying to explain at the family reunion what it is you actually do online, but you don't have to do it alone. The hashtag Managed Collective Mentorship is your weekly dose of business strategy, advice, and let's be honest, therapy. Grab your lunch, hop on our weekly lunch break coaching calls with myself and Maddie, and let's figure out how to thrive in this wild social media management world. Sign up now at hashtagmanaged.com/mentorship. Use code MANAGED for 20% off your mentorship. That's MANAGED. Join us now at hashtagmanaged.com/mentorship. We'll see you there at the next lunch break therapy sesh. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you made it this far, I think we've officially become internet besties. You can always call into the hashtag hotline and say hello, leave a review, or ask your burning questions.
make sure you follow, rate, and review the podcast wherever you're listening from. Subscribe to the Social Club newsletter for our weekly email, and shoot us a DM over at hashtag Managed on Instagram, letting us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode.